YouTube. Oh my God. All right, so I don't know what I am doing. This is my first time doing this. Welcome, I'm Asia. This is Spanning Gateway. And I don't even know if you can hear me. So since it's just me on here right now, I'm going to be figuring stuff out. So unless I see any comments or something like that, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to keep this live on here. This is mostly just testing out because I've never done this before, so it's real interesting. Kind of learning as I go along. So can you hear me? Oh. So can you hear me? Oh. All right. Well, you can hear me. All right. Well, that works. Welcome to the YouTube dungeon. Okay, there's that. There's this. Excuse me while I try to figure stuff out. So I'm going to be here until 10. This video is we could talk about anything, really. It's really not too much that I personally have to say. I feel like everything in the world has been said already. There's like a gazillion channels. And I'm not really that much invested in what's going on in the world. There's a lot going on in the world. I'm just trying to make sure I'm doing what I need to be doing. And things that pertain to me and how I could, do what I can to help kind of build up community, because we're not necessarily in communities anymore if we really if we're really honest about the situation and look at things for what it is. We're more in like groups, a whole bunch of different groups and subdivisions and sects, SECT, sects. There's many different sects. Instead of community, we don't necessarily carry the values of community. A lot of people don't even know what community is because we've never been in them, or at least in healthy ones. So that's that. But hopefully have some hope in humanity, because humanity is going out real sad. We're going out real sad. So yeah. All right. It's just me and whoever's watching from the curtain, behind the curtain. Let's see what comes to mind. heavy on people's mind, on people's mental is politics. Well, mostly people who are invested in politics. I can't necessarily say that I am. I've done a lot of studying and paying attention through my life. I never really was that invested in politics. Um, but as far as what I know right now, I know it has very little to do with me. It's more about the system. And I don't think that's something that people really recognize about politics. It's more catered to the system that of government that we're operating in, which is really a republic. But a lot of people are unaware of the differences between a republic and a democracy. So I like to invest in learning. If I'm going to be on here, hopefully we could learn about something. Okay. And start with the basics. There's a lot of misinformation going on because we haven't really been taught about the basics of things. This is Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. That's what I think everybody, if you ask me, everybody should be invested in is the law, because the law is pertaining to you, not just what the government is doing. You are the government early, but that's even hard to say until you dive deeper into things. So let's look at democracy. And this is not a Google. This is not Google. This is coming from the actual law book. So you always want to start with the word. Okay, democracy. Eventually, I'll find better ways to do this, but I just want you to see that it's in here. Democracy is that form of government, in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens. That form of government in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens, as distinguished from a monarchy, aristocracy, or oligarchy. According to the theory of a pure democracy, every citizen should participate directly in the business of governing. So we're dealing with business ethics, little kitty cat is meowing. Business ethics, and the legislative assembly should comprise the whole people. The legislative should compromise the whole people. But the ultimate lodgment of the sovereignty being the distinguished feature, the introduction of the representative system does not remove a government from this type. However, a government of the latter kind is sometimes specifically described as a representative democracy. So this is dealing with representations. That's why we have people from the Democratic or Republican Party who are representatives of that party. So let's go deeper, go into the definition again deeper, because words and reading is very essential, especially for the comprehension, because you can read a definition, but it doesn't necessarily you comprehend unless you know the meanings of all the words that are used. So that form of government, so the democracy Democracy is only a form of government in which the sovereign power, what is sovereign power? That's especially important to know what the sovereign power is. So let's go into that. Let's hold this. Let's go into sovereign, because if you don't know what sovereign is, you're missing out on a lot of information about government and what that has to do with you, especially if you don't see yourself as a sovereign power. Bear with me. Since I'm in here on my lonesome, I'm used to it though. It's okay. That's what I'll be doing anyway. Sovereign. Sovereign. A person. A sovereign is a person. A sovereign is a body. Or a sovereign is a state in which independent and supreme authority is vested. So independent and supreme authority is vested in sovereign powers. So independent and supreme authority is vested in a person, a body, or a state in which independent and supreme authority is vested. A chief ruler. Okay, so if we have Democratic and Republican parties nominating candidates to represent the chief, be a chief, commander-in-chief as the president, with supreme power in the likings of a king or a ruler with limited power. Okay, so a chief ruler with supreme power or sovereign is a king or other ruler with limited power. So it can be either a sovereign can be either with supreme power or a king or other ruler with limited power. In English law, a gold coin of Great Britain is also called a sovereign of the value of a pound sterling. Okay, that's another definition of sovereign, but mainly when we're talking about democracy, we're dealing with sovereignty, and that has to do with authority and who has the power to do certain things and to act in certain ways, especially if they are acting on behalf of a party or a body of people, okay, or a person. So a person can have sovereign power, a body of people can have sovereign power, or a king or a chief ruler. So it's dealing with authority and powers in order to be able to act in certain ways and have certain authority over people or government or self, because every person is supposed to be in their sovereignty under the definition of the word. So we're back to democracy. That form of government in which the sovereign power, the supreme power, okay, supreme power, or a king or other ruler with limited power. So a king or other ruler has limited power, okay? So that form of government in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised, that means it is used, the power, the authority is used by the whole body of free citizens, okay? And it's also important to know what citizens are, because there's different definitions, especially when we're dealing with law. Citizens, words can definitely be manipulated. So you need to know the context, the contents in which they're being referenced in, so you can have comprehension of what exactly is being said. So The sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens. So you have to determine who are free citizens and what your role is in a democracy and what part you are playing in government before you can even exercise any type of authority or represent anything. Most people who are electing Democratic or Republicans into an office, especially as a chief executive, should be familiar with the roles that they play, and the power that they're able and the authority that they actually do have over a body, over people. Because if you don't understand the role of a president, then you're not necessarily going to know what that has to do with you. So free citizens, okay, so that form of government in which the sovereign power resides in and is exercised by the whole body of free citizens, as distinguished from a monarchy. Okay, believe that's with one ruler over all of the people, such as like a king or something like that. Aristocracy, okay, it has to do with heirs to thrones, or oligarchy. This is all dealing with rulers that are making the decisions on the people without the people having the proper the representation in order for them to be able to exercise their rights and authority. According to the theory is the idea, okay, ideas of a pure democracy. I don't know exactly what they mean of a pure democracy. Every citizen should participate directly in the business of governing. Okay, so you have to know what your citizenship is, what that means, what your status is in government. That's not something that we pay too much attention to because we are kind of automated. We automatically look to, we've been conditioned and institutionalized, and especially these two different political parties, Democratic and Republican. So it's very much a part of American society to just participate in, following the leadership. But once you understand what a democracy is, then you'll know your place in it, and then you'll be able to act accordingly, and not get too wrapped up into the political games. Because what it is, it's a game. It's a game if you can't see it because you don't know the underlining, how the system is operating. You're only seeing what is put in front of your face through the representatives. Okay, so this is having to do with business. One thing that should be understood about human affairs and political affairs, there's a difference. Those are different bodies of governing. There's governing over humans, people, and there's governing over business, corporations, property, things like that, commodities. And there's been a blurring of the lines between what is human and what is property. So democracy is dealing with things that are business related, business ethics, and property, commodities, trade. This is where we have our legislative body of politics, dealing on how we're supposed to interact with each other in business relations. Okay, so assembly should, okay, let's go to the beginning of the sentence. According to the theory of a pure democracy, every citizen should participate directly in the business of governing, okay? Especially if you're in business, you probably want to be in and have a little bit of investment in learning how what these political parties are going to be doing as far as their legislative authority to make laws on how you should conduct yourself and how people are supposed to conduct themselves in the public. Okay, that's another good word to understand is the difference between public and what is private, because private is dealing more with governing of humans than business and trade and stuff like that. So every citizen should participate directly in the business of governing, and which with what we're supposed to be doing anyway. We have kind of, especially when it's dealing with the people of the republic, we have kind of given that responsibility to these political parties to be making decisions on what's best for us, because that's what they want us to do pretty much. So every citizen should participate directly in the business of governing, okay? Especially if you have a business, okay? Most people have been, when you get into the depths of it, you understand how deep business goes, especially when it's dealing with you. But if you have a business or you're working in a business, it's governing the laws on how we're supposed to be, how we are to conduct ourselves in order for us not to get fined or penalized for misconduct. Okay. So, and the legislative assembly, okay, those who assemble for legislative purposes, who are writing these bills and executing and exercising authority to make laws that govern the rest of the body, depending on which body you are participating in, what type of citizenship you have here um, in America. On the land, America is actually a land, and you need to understand the difference between a land and a country and a nation. Okay, these are kind of keywords I'm just throwing out here, so we can have a better understanding of what's taking place. Because if we don't know the underlying, what lies under what you're seeing on the political stage, then you won't be able to properly see what's taking place, and you'll be giving your authority and your power over to people that I would question whether they really have your best interest, or if they are in the interest of themselves, or in the best interest of their political parties. Okay, because we all have our own individual interests depending on where we're going in our lives. So you want to know the difference between if somebody is actually working on your behalf, especially if you're not even participating in the political system, you're not a part of any parties, or if you are, you don't want to be used by these things, especially when you are if you're donating to them and giving them your energy, and not expecting anything in return. It's kind of like hope is like on hoping that something happens in your favor, but it goes a lot deeper than that. So, in the business of governing, the legislative assembly should compromise the whole people. Okay, when we talk about whole people, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody. It depends on context, because a whole people, a whole people is, for example, like the Democratic Party is a whole people. The Republican Party is a whole people. So, and then you have the whole people on the land, the whole people in the federal system, the whole people. There's different subdivisions, different sects of government. And I think that's something that's important for us to be aware of, because a lot of times you see these people getting on the stage, but you don't know necessarily who they're talking to. You think they're talking to you, and they may not be talking to you at all. It just appears to be that way. So, but the ultimate lodgment, okay, that is to lodge. When you lodge something, you are not necessarily, I wouldn't say necessarily by force, but it is kind of a force. When you lodge something into something, you are, how do you explain that? you're fitting something in, and that when it's talking about mints, lodgement, it's fitting something into mind. So the ultimate lodgement of the sovereignty being the distinguished feature, okay, sovereignty, the ultimate lodgement, the ultimate fixed state of mind of the sovereignty being the distinguished feature. So there's a distinguishment. There's just like with the Democratic and Republican parties, there's distinguishments. They have different ideas on how things should be done, how power should be exercised, who is supposed to hold authority, who even has the authority in the first place. These are things that we should consider and be aware of and know before we necessarily participate in any things, because a lot of us through indoctrination and conditioning have learned to operate against our best interests, especially because if we don't know necessarily what's going on, they know what's going on, but there's a lot of things that can't necessarily be disclosed to the people because the people are not informed. I don't even like the word informed, because informed, it's not enough. It's not enough, especially when we're dealing with things with law. Okay, so these are underlying things that are supposed to be known before you participate in certain things for your own best interest. Okay, but the ultimate lodgment of the sovereignty being the distinguished feature, the introduction of the representative system, the introduction. Okay, so that is letting you know that it was started. Okay, this was not the foundation of governing, because the United States of America is a republic, and then it was an introduction into a democracy, in which we're past introduction. We've been doing democracy we democracied out. Okay, and I'm gonna give you another word to kind of give you an idea give you an idea where we're at right now after I'm finished with this. Okay, so the introduction, where is it? The introduction of the representative system. The introduction of the representative system does not remove a government from this type. Okay, so let's go back on that to see exactly what it's saying. But the ultimate lodgment of the sovereignty being the distinguished feature, the sovereignty being the distinguished feature. So sovereignty is what's distinguishing the form of government. And the introduction of the representative system does not remove a government from this type of sovereignty. So the introduction of the representative system does not remove a government from its original form of sovereignty. So it still stands, just like for the republic in which it still stands, but it's not an operation. It's not being exercised because we are operating under democratic practices. Okay. However, a government of the latter kind is sometimes specifically described as a representative democracy. Okay, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Televised is a representative democracy because whoever's participating is electing certain people to act on their behalf. They're looking to these people to govern in particular ways that serve interest of whoever's party is. And a lot of times we don't really see if you're not paying attention to the lobbyists and people in the special interest and the political favors and favoritism and all these isms and schisms, then you can be kind of participating in your own demise. by not understanding fully what's taking place, not just in front of the scenes, but behind the scenes. Okay. However, government of the latter kind is sometimes specifically described as a representative democracy. Okay, so that's basically what we're dealing with here today in 2024. Is we're still dealing with a representative democracy, um, having limited now to these two parties, Democratic and Republican, representing the supposedly the American people, okay, but they're really representing the democratic state because there's two different states of being. There's the republic state of being and a democratic state of being, okay, and which we don't necessarily talk about, at least publicly, is the republic state of being. People don't really have a comprehension of what that means. Town form of government. Town. Okay, so that's like a town is like a smaller form of city. Okay, citizen, city, a town form. So that's like a smaller form of government, a smaller locale. Okay, town form of government constitutes pure democracy. So a town form of government constitutes pure democracy as distinguished from representative government. Oh, that's interesting. Commonwealth versus town of Hudson. Okay. Democracy is loosely used. Democracy is loosely used of governments. Loosely used. So that's real wishy-washy. Okay. However, it's used however the wind is blowing. We can use democracy to define and describe the American form of government. Democracy is loosely used of governments in which the sovereign powers are exercised by all the people or a large number of them. So, democracy is loosely used of governments in which the sovereign powers, which we were just talking about, the sovereign power is vested in the people, of a person and a body. A person is also considered a corporation. Side note, a person, a body of people, okay, or someone that has vested authority to be able to exercise their authority in ruling over people, persons, or bodies. So democracy is loosely used of governments in which the sovereign powers are exercised by all the people or a large number of them, or a large number of them. So it's either all or just a large number. Or specifically in modern use, like in today's use, of a representative government where there is equality of rights without hereditary or arbitrary differences in rank or privilege, and which is something something that is being used right now in the narrative, especially with Democratic candidate Kamala. She is what they're calling a DEI hire. Okay, what is it? Diversity, equity, inclusion. Okay, this is a good way to describe that right now, which is happening right now in modern use of a representative government, where she's representing an aspect of the government dealing with political issues, things that have to do with diversity, especially diversity of citizenship. Okay, because there's different cultures here living on the land. There's different types of business being conducted here on the land. So there's diversity with issues, and it's dealing with equality of opportunities that are provided through the federal state. So diversity, equity, and inclusion is also a way of describing a representative government where there is equality of rights without hereditary or arbitrary differences in rank. So no matter if you're colored, whatever, sexual orientation, the many different schisms that are taking place right now has a lot to do with um, opportunities for diverse groups of people, and for them to have equal rights in the public business arena, not necessarily dealing with human rights. We're dealing with political, corporate, business, ethics, and opportunities, dealing with a workforce, which is also a citizenry. Okay, because the workforce, there are people who work, they would not be part of the workforce. So there's different groups of people that are here living and doing business on the land. So when we're dealing with democracy, we're dealing with business aspect of government. That should tell you a lot right there, especially when you start to listen to the things that they're talking about. You can get a better idea of who they are actually talking to. You'll know if that's you or not. Okay, so in modern use, without hitting rank or privilege, okay, that's what the democracy is. Another thing, another word um, to pay attention to is privileges, because privileges come along with democracy. Rights are more geared towards a republican form of government. So that's dealing more with actual human rights, while the democracy is dealing with privileges that these corporations are offering to people to kind of get them to participate in whatever diversity, equity, inclusion that they want you to include. They want to include you into it, which can work in your benefit or not, depending on the type of policies and stuff that you're participating in, and how you actually conduct your business as an individual sovereign, if you are. Right. And is distinguished from aristocracy. I don't really remember what aristocracy is. I'm gonna look that up. It's been 38 minutes already. Nobody? It's all right. It's okay, we're in a dungeon. And me talking like this is not necessarily going to help anything, but I don't know anywhere else to be. I don't like to be in La La Land. Maybe trying to have everybody in La La Land. I mean, I like I like my own La La Land, but I don't like being in other people's La La Land. And they think that they can just do whatever they want because they are trying to obtain some type of well, they already pretty much have obtained the people's sovereign power, because people don't even know what sovereign power is. So that should let you know. they took that shit. They took it. Or we gave it away. Better said, we gave our sovereign power away. We don't pay attention. We're not paying attention to these type of things. Now, what did I say? It's called aristocracy. What was I looking at? I want to see how aristocracy is defined in the law dictionary. Hopefully you're having a good day, though. I actually am having a good day now. I'm doing things that, I didn't even know I was going to do. I was just like, fuck it. You feel me? Anyway, so I like to learn, and it's something that benefits us all if we know how to use it right and have and exercise good use of judgment. And you can't exercise good use of judgment without understanding law, and the law of the land, the law in which you're operating under, the law of God. You've got to know what these things mean and how they apply to you in your life, and how they can be used against you if you don't know, because it's how we getting beat the fuck up spiritually, especially when it's dealing with communities. I don't know, aristocracy. I'm talking. I done forgot what the hell I was looking at. See if it's in here. It should be. There is aristocracy, a government in which a class of men rules supreme. A class of men. That sounds pretty familiar. Aristocracy, a government in which a class of men rules supreme. They have supreme authority, supreme sovereignty. Remember, we looked in sovereignty. We saw that was talking about supreme authority. So, who has supreme authority over you? In an aristocracy, a class of men. So that can be any type of class. Anything can be defined as a certain type of class. Usually, we refer to it as a ruling class of men who rule supreme, make all the decisions, hold all of the authority over the people that are living within that governmental system or on that land. A form of government which is lodged, there's that word again, lodged, that's kind of like forced or placed, stuck in a council composed of select members or nobles. Select members or nobles without a monarch, okay, without a chief representative. Okay, they just are what they are. They're not representing anything. They're telling you exactly what it is that they hold the supreme power. We have an appearance of what is that, a representative government, because we are actually the federal state is actually in the process of electing representatives for the people to speak on and act on their behalf through their legislative powers to exercise their authority of judgment on how the people are supposed to conduct themselves in business and living on the land. A lot of that authority has been given to the states. The states are supposed to be acting in the supreme power. Don't quote me, and hopefully I'm saying that right, because I don't want to mince my words, but right now I know that the state is acting in the sovereign power because they make the decisions on the behalf of what happens with people, and how we are conducting our business and living our daily lives. So that's our aristocracy, a privileged, okay, we're not dealing with rights, a privileged class of people, okay, or nobles and dignitaries, okay, people of wealth and station. So it kind of blurring the lines. When you can start to get into these definitions, you start to see exactly what's kind of taking place between the lines in the gray areas and the things in the unspoken that's not being said. Because just based off of this definition here that I just read, it looks like we pretty aristocratic, okay? We in the cratics, just like we're in the democratics. And it looks like a representative, but there's still, a lot that's taking place behind the scenes. So let's finish this definition. I didn't spend this whole time on one definition. This is how good the law is. It was very interesting, very worth taking the time to invest, especially when you know it has to do with you and you are the law if you are exercising it properly. It's for your own protection from government overreach. And when you're not seeing yourself as a government, then you're not participating in it properly, especially if you don't exercise government or you're not a lawful person at all, then you can be used any kind of way, especially if you don't have an understanding or know what's going on. So let's see. In modern representative democracies, as in the United States and France, though the governing body, that is the electorate, so those are elect, and we were talking in aristocracy, those there's a privileged class. They have certain privileges that are afforded to them. certain authorities that is given to them because they are elected to fulfill a certain purpose in government. So, where was I? Okay. So, democracy is distinguished from aristocracy. I don't know how much distinguishing there is, I guess, because it's not called such things, but we can still see a government in which class of men rules supreme. And then you got to know what class of men that is, who's ruling supreme. But we are under the appearance because they have people that represent, okay, representing certain authority and certain powers and exercising certain judgments. So in modern representative democracies, as the United States and France, though the government body, that is the electorate, is a minority of the total population. Is a minority. That's another good word too to understand, because a lot of certain groups of people are looked at as minorities, in which they actually are. And when we look at the reality of the situation, people acting in a minority state, minors dealing with youth, immaturity, incompetence. You need somebody. A minor needs somebody to handle their affairs for them. So that's why they elect a representative to handle the affairs of the minor, because the minor is not competent enough to understand completely what is going on for them to take care of themselves. So they need a representative, a parent, a guardian. This is also dealing with governing, because it's like the government is supposed to be governing the people here living and doing business on the land. It's the same thing as me being a mother, me being the governor of my home, the sovereign of my home, governing over my children, because they are in a minority position where they are not fully capable of taking care of themselves and making the best decisions. So we're kind of the people here on the land are kind of being looked at the same way, in which the way that they refer to people who are not competent to take care of their own affairs as being minorities in a minority position. In modern representative democracies, as the United States and France, operating through the governing body. So whatever we are operating through a democratic governing body. That is the electorate, where certain individuals with certain privileges have certain authorities. It's supposed to be a minority of the total population. The principles on which the government is based is popular sovereignty. So however the people see fit, however the people are seeing things. So I don't really like how that's said, because really the gist of sovereignty is not anything that's supposed to be popular. It's dealing with rights. But I mean, the popular is like saying the popular way to view sovereignty, who is to have the authority. So it's based on popular sovereignty, which distinguishes them from the aristocracy. So this is very much connected to aristocracy, just based on how we see sovereignty, who we decide to give our sovereign power to. And this is what we're doing when we're electing these representatives. So we're giving them the authority, the sovereignty, the power, the authority, the supreme, depending on if they have limited power, which that's what's supposed to be the purpose of democracy, is to have limited power. And then which the republic is supposed to be the supreme power, the major, not the minor. Democratic policies and legislation and our arbitrary political ideas are supposed to be the minor governing body. The people are supposed to be the supreme power. Supposed to be, but we're not acting in that way. Popular term which distinguishes them from aristocracies. Okay, Webster's New International Dictionary. Okay, so I wanted to get into this word, this last word. I'll leave you with this before I get off this thing. I've probably come on here before, but hopefully if you learn something, at least, want to support. I'm not asking for much, but just a like, because these are things that I think we need to talk about, but it's not popular. Especially when you got these democratic issues going on right now, arguments between the two parties where they're arguing mints, they're arguing their ideology on who's better fit to, I don't know what they think they're gonna do. Hopefully, like I said, it's going out sad. Hold on, I'm trying to find this word. I don't remember what the word is, but I think it's OL. Oh, oligarchy. Is that it? No, that's not it. So this is not the word I'm looking for, but I'm going to read it off anyway, so we can start to distinguish the different types of governments, going over the foundations of what governments are and how things, in comparison to what we are operating in now, because we are in a foundation of the compromised. That means all. Meaning I'm referencing all the governments. All of the states create the United States of America, because right now it's looking like whatever the 50 states, all those states are compromising the United States in one governing body. So the United States is all of the 50 states is just another way of saying all of the 50 states, the individual states. But oligarchy is a form of government wherein the administration of affairs is lodged in the hands of a few persons. I'm not really seeing that much difference in between what is taking place right now. A form of government where there's the administration who ministers to the people of affairs is lodged in the hands of a few persons. That's looking to me like both Democratic and Republican candidates are a few persons who are making decisions for a lot of people. I guess those who participating in that form of government. Damn, I forgot what the damn word was. Bear with me a moment. 5 minutes. Oh, OCH. That's what it was, OCH. Well, I guess nobody wanted to join me. It's all right. Maybe next time. But I'm glad I did this, though. And I'll be back in here again. I don't know, probably tomorrow morning, because I need to monetize. Everybody else is. I don't see why I can't. Shit. The shit I be seeing, I'm like, damn. You feel me? Yeah, I really can't find this word. Maybe it wasn't into. I'll probably post it. Yeah. I'll probably post it on my website. I can't find it now. Yeah, I really think it's an important word to consider for these times that we're living in. Okay. I wasn't prepared, at least for this word. Well, I don't know. I can't find it. It's so frustrating. I have to. As soon as I click off on this thing, I'm gonna find it, and that's what's gonna get on my damn nerves. Oh, there it is. There we go. Accuracy. Accuracy. I'll leave you with this word. Accuracy is a government by the multitude. That's interesting. Once you break down what that means, government by the multitude. That's not like readily apparent until you kind of get into the gist of what it's saying. A form of government wherein the populace has the whole power and administration in its own hands, also known as the abuse of a democracy, mob rule. I think that's worth considering. And when you are participating in democratic practices or Republican practices, it's important to know whose practices you are in. So in autocracy, government by the multitude, a form of government wherein the populace has the whole power and administration in its own hands. Okay. You gotta be careful when you give somebody whole power and whole authority when they have the whole world in their hands, which is also called the abuse of democracy, aka mob rule. And that's really what democracy is anyway. But this is when you know that it's gone too far, that they had to make a whole nother word and call it autocracy. All right. Hope you have a good day. Hopefully you at least got something from this. Probably be on here tomorrow. I don't know. Yeah. And you feel me? Help us out.